This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of January 26, 2026. We got a pretty good show today. We were going to be reviewing Disneyland Handcrafted. I was very excited to watch that 2 nights ago. It was absolutely fantastic. We've got a couple games that we want to play, DBC Engagement. But right off the bat, I want to give a shout out to Orange Grove 55 for checking out our last video and dropping a comment. Phil, I think we need to see if we can reach out to him to do like a little collab, little dual podcast type of thing.
That would definitely be fun.
Those guys have a lot of great content. So if you want to hop it up on YouTube, search out Orange Grove 55 if you don't already. Got some good stuff over there. All right. So, Phil, I think we just dive right into it. I don't have any shenanigans to open up other than I'm wearing my podcast sweater. Again, we're going to have to figure out what a podcast sweater looks like in the summertime. I don't know what that is.
Just rip the sleeves off.
That's right. Yes. But be a professional wrestler or something with ripped off sleeves, or like a Bill Belichick in his hoodie.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Something like that. But we've got like one news item for the week. So
there wasn't a lot of news. There was like little bits going on, like for Disneyland Paris and Disneyland and stuff, but nothing that was kind of worth mentioning. You know, we know like the Rise of the Resistance there is closed now, and in Disney World the Frozen Ever After is closed because they're changing over the animatronics and stuff. But there wasn't a ton of like real meaty news for us to kind of comment on. The one thing I did put in here, because I know you mentioned this was something you thought your wife would be interested in. I know with your trip coming up, is this, going to impact your planning? But we got a little bit more information about the Grand Floridian Garden View Lounge tea experience that they previously announced was going to be coming this year. We know that it's going to open on March 19th now, with reservations starting on February 19th, so 1 month out. And we got the pricing for it, and they shared kind of the food before it. It's like you get a scone, and there's going to be 3 towers of finger sandwiches and some desserts and stuff. So it looked kind of fun and stuff, but not super substantial. I know some people are like, is this going to be like a meal? Like, this is not a meal replacement. This is like a little experience. But the cost is $79 per adult and $49 for kid ages 3 to 9, plus tax and gratuity. So I kind of just placed it out like, if say a mother and daughter wants to do this, if you're going to, get in tax and about an 18% tip, that's going to come to just shy of $160 for you and your daughter or whoever wants to do it. So I think it got a little discussion going on Discord and stuff like that, where it seemed pricey, especially, it's about double what the tea house near me looks. I know Disney always has a markup and stuff like that. This is a little bit cheaper than the one at the Cake Bake Shop. So if that makes you feel a little bit better, I guess you can go that way. But I guess now that the details are out, do you think this is something that you would still consider doing, or that your wife would want to do? Or is this kind of like, I just don't see how it's worth it at that price?
I mean, it's not worth it for me, but I'm not a tea service kind of guy, right? So, my wife's done this a lot of times. I think early last summer, she had like a quote unquote garden party in our backyard for all of her girlfriends. So she had like all the stuff in the backyard with tea and snacks and all this other stuff. So she really likes the vibe and like the aesthetic of like a tea service. So I think like being at Disney, being at the Grand Floridian, she doesn't like the vibe of the Grand Floridian to like stay as a hotel, but for like tea service, like that's like her, that's like perfect, right? That's what she's going for. And I would think that if we were to do this, it'd be probably me and my son go venture off somewhere else, and her and the 2 girls will go and do like tea service and, be all dress up all fancy or something else like that. Even then it's a $200 plus kind of like adventure for them. So I don't think it's worth it. I don't think the experience is anything like special. Like there's no characters dressing up, right? And it's the equivalent of a character meal essentially for pricing. And I don't know, it's like a $200 thing. So I would have 2 Disney adults. It's $160 plus another $50. So we're at $210 before tax and gratuity, right? Yeah. So I think my wife be like, yeah, I like it, but not at that price type of thing. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. But I showed it to her. She's interested, but I don't think we really discussed anything like permanent, because I know she really wants to do the the Savannah tour at Animal Kingdom Lodge, the nighttime safari.
Okay, yeah.
And that's like $70 a person. So it'd be
Yeah.
like that or like this, like pick one.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, this definitely feels like I think we've talked about this before. It's always good if you've gone down regularly to kind of mix in new things, but it gets expensive if you try to mix in every new thing. So it's probably like you got to pick one.
I mean, like one of the things I'm going to do, like if you remember last year, we picked like 5 favorite rides. We did all these like achievements and stuff like that. I think we're going to do achievements. I think that we're making that a Dodge family thing. But instead of doing like your top 5 rides as an achievement, because we just did that, I think we're going to try to do like your top 3 or top 5 things you've never done at Disney World and try to kind of like fill in new experiences. So we'll see. Anyway, tea service, I'll leave that up to my wife. She can spend the money if she wants to. I have no problem with it, but she'll be the ultimate judge of that.
I mean, it definitely looked nice, and they were trying to play into the Alice in Wonderland theme a little bit with some of the snacks and stuff. And while it's expensive, and I said, you and a kid is $160. Like it also feels like one of those things that when you have I keep saying daughter, it could be a son too, like kind of that right age, and they're dressed up in the princess outfits and stuff, and like it's going to create one of those like kind of core memories. But
maybe. I mean, like I didn't look, and I've never been in the Garden View Lounge before. Is it like a nice type of thing? Because I know like the Tiana's, what's the character meal that's in the Grand Floridian now? I can't remember the name. It's got like Tiana, and Aladdin, and I forget the other characters. But that room is completely closed off. Like there's no windows in there. Yeah, and that turned us off.
No, I believe this. I'm trying to. I should look up if they have the. Pictures and stuff, but I believe it does have windows that look out and stuff, and it looks like a nice space. It's definitely nicer than that room where that character meal is, which is more like, I don't know, like not cafeteria. It's nicer than that.
Like a central banquet hall
type thing. This looks a lot nicer than that, I think. So
okay,
yeah,
fair enough. But yeah, is that something your wife would do? Is she into that type of thing?
She's somewhat into it. My oldest, actually, there's a tea house near us, and that's what she did for her Sweet 16 party. She had like a dozen of her friends do tea and stuff like that, rather than like a dance party type thing. And so they had a really nice time, excuse to get dressed up and stuff like that. So I think it's something they'd like to do. I just don't know. Like I said, we have a really nice one near us. So I don't know if it's special enough to pay twice the price and use up time. Like we have limited time when we're at Disney. So, if it was something we were like going down for a very long 2-week vacation or something like that, or locals or something, I'm sure we would probably try it out at least once. But I just don't know if it's going to be that much of a priority at that price to kind of take up a whole afternoon of the 5-6 days we have down there.
So I mean, I didn't ask you specifically if you would want to do this.
No, even for my,
I assume that you're going to to be at Trader Sam's rather than.
Let's see. The problem there is I think my wife would rather go to Trader Sam's.
There you go.
But yeah, even if it was my wife and daughter or whatever, I don't know if they'd want to use up a whole afternoon for this or something. Unless it was, the one good thing about this is if you're doing like a resort stay, you don't need a park ticket to go to this or something like that. So you could kind of get a bit of a Disney fix in without using a park ticket.
And this is something where you typically, when you're doing like a resort crawl or a monorail crawl, it is lounge intensive, where it's beverages and stuff. This could potentially fit in where you have younger children that kind of do something cool as you kind of go to place to place as well. Reminder of our social media accounts, just in case you don't know where to find us, at the DBC Pod everywhere that you might do social media: Facebook, YouTube, Blue Sky, Insta, Twitter, and all those fun places. Want to go do some construction updates. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying like there's a lot of updates for Magic Kingdom if you just want like to see dirt moving. I know Bio Reconstruct had a bunch of pictures of just like, here's the here's the dirt from the monorail. It's moving a little bit, and I think Blog Mickey might have had some pictures of like the concrete forms that are going in, but like nothing major is happening.
One thing I did see Bio did, I think it was just today, was he kept mapping up like, here's a picture I took the other day from the air, and now I'm in the park, and kind of showing you that same spot, like park view, which is kind of neat to kind of see the different angles. But yeah, it's a lot of like dirt moving, and maybe I guess there was a little bit of new construction over at Hollywood Studios and stuff, but like, yeah, it's kind of more of the same.
The one interesting thing, Phil, and I want your take on what you think is happening, because I suspect that everybody's reading in too much to this, and it's just general maintenance. But more scrims have gone up around the Haunted Mansion, and they're now covering the front of it. So now it's not just like where we expect, like, oh, they're prepping it for like Villains Land stuff. Now it's just like, it looks like they're just like fixing up the outer part of the mansion. What do you think's happening there, Phil?
I think it's just that, and it's all tying into like jiggering the queue and stuff like that. I know maybe shout out to Jack at DSNY. He just put out a video today kind of summarizing where all the construction projects are. He's, of course, pushing and hoping that they're still going to be putting in that Haunted Mansion bar or lounge or restaurant or something. I think it's wishful thinking. I think this is just for shifting the queue and stuff. And I think it's just making sure all the angles look good and anything that needs touched up, because now, like, you're going to be able to see different spots of the building because the queue's in a different direction and stuff like that. I think it's just related to that, but
do you think they're actually doing like Villains Land, Piston Peak related things on the Haunted Mansion, or are they just, because I suspect, because I like how you put it, where I think they're just doing touch-ups to make sure, because trees are going to be moved or whatever, so you're going to be able to see it from different angles, and they want to make sure it doesn't look like, hey, no one's been here for like 20 years type.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's all it is, but who knows? I mean, it would be fun if there's more to it than that, if all of a sudden they pop a surprise at us, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it'd be cool, because I think they might have to add, right off the top of my head, I haven't looked at a map or Google Maps about it or whatever, but like, how far back does the Haunted Mansion facade go on that show building, right? Because it's basically just that front corner.
Yeah.
Everything else was hidden either by trees from the rivers of America, or
it really only goes maybe just a little bit further back than the graveyard that you see when you go into the queue.
That's what I thought.
Not beyond that, because if you see where they did that work with that little spot behind the queue, they left a line of trees, because if that line of trees was gone, you'd be able to see the show building from the queue and stuff. It doesn't. So the facade doesn't go that much further than that.
I'm going to be really interested on what they do for the length of that building as they start building things up. Are they going to just leave trees, or are they going to add some kind of like, because the mansion's not that big where it can go back another 100 yards or so.
Right, exactly. It's going to like mess up the proportions of the facade and stuff like that. So yeah, I assume they'll just cover it with trees and stuff. Maybe they'll change the style of trees. Maybe it'll be some like the trees kind of changed, become creepier or whatever as you start going like further into Villains Land or something like that. But I think it'll just be trees and stuff blocking it.
I wonder if once the scrims come down, whatever that may be, if we notice any differences, because there'll be plenty of people like comparing shot for shot of it. Yeah. So we'll see. The next update is there's a new coat of pink paint on the castle. I think this was first discovered by Drew the Disney Dude, or at least that's the first place I've seen it, and it was more widely reported.
I think Blog Mickey had it, and then Drew.
Okay.
Like Drew zoomed in and kind of showed it and stuff like that. So he's like spread the message of it.
So I'm assuming they're prepping paint colors for the castle and they just painted over it.
That's my understanding. Is what they did is that in the middle of the night or whatever, they put over the gray or whatever it's going to be, and then they repainted it pink to fit in with the rest of it. So you can kind of see it's slightly like newer paint, so it hasn't faded as much, but it's just, I think they were just testing out the gray.
So I have two things that are ancillary to this. One is I'm glad that they're testing it. I'm assuming they always do this, but like it's funny that like, okay, does the color we want actually keep on top of the pink when we paint over it? Because that's always the thing. If you've painted in your house, sometimes when you paint a lighter color over a darker color,
it bleeds
it doesn't quite work, right? Yeah. And two, I just remember how terribly, at least in my opinion, how terribly the pink looked originally when it was
when it's fresh,
really pink. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad that's going away. Because even the faded pink doesn't look terribly bad, in my opinion. It's almost like
a lot
gray.
Better.
But like, yeah, that pink when it was new was just, I didn't like it. So anyway, follow that. I'm sure a lot of things will be starting soon with the castle. I have to imagine that cranes and painting crews and stuff like that are becoming, or at least, what is it? The moat gets drained first.
I think that was the first thing they said was the moat would get drained, and then they obviously will have cranes for the painting, but they're supposed to only be up in the mornings and then go down by noon to not block the view.
And I think that's it for the Magic Kingdom, even though some other stuff is highlighted from last week here. Another thing that kind of really surprised me was in Pandora. I first saw this with Scott Gustin, but I think other places reported it. Some of the glow-in-the-dark walkways being refurbed in Pandora. So if you've never been in Pandora at nighttime, which is very rare because not many people stay that late.
You pretty much have to go in the winter.
Yeah, and the parks usually close before sundown for most of the year. I remember going, I think I did Animal Kingdom at night back in 22, I want to say. I don't think we were there late in 23. But in 22, I walked through. I'm like, I want to see this at night. And it was really like disappointing to me. Like I didn't really expect. Oh, of course we went back in 2024, I guess, too, when it was just our Don't Only trip. We were there overnight at 3:00 in the morning, so I saw it there as well. Anyway, it was very muted. I thought it was going to be like a whole kind of nighttime. The jungle comes alive at night. It was like a secondary show, and it was really nothing.
Yeah, they made when they were first building Pandora, they made it seem like the plants were going to be like almost for like have electricity like through them, like actually light up and stuff. And then at the end, it turned out to be like blacklight paint, which fades over time. So if you're there when it's fresh, like it is now, which I think they've actually been working on for a little bit. I forget if it was Wheezy. Somebody on our board said they'd been working on it for like 2 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess now enough of it's done that photo was like, oh wow, look at like how much is done, and it looks really great.
Is the photo like just like split down the middle of the walkway, and that's what it is? Because I got trouble like looking at kind of getting.
I think they've started working on half of it, and waiting for that to dry, and then they'll probably work on the other half and let people walk on that. But yeah, it looked like they'd split it down the middle so they could work on it.
What does that tell you? Excuse me, of the where they're where they're going with the park, because Dinosaur's closing next week. You've got Expedition Everest that's going to be open or closed based off the work that they're doing. I don't think it's fully closed down.
I don't think it's closed. They're just doing like work on the loading platform queue area, but I don't think that's actually impacted it being up or down.
The park is almost never open at nighttime, and late enough where the sun is actually dark out, or it is actually dark out. Do you think this is a hint that they might be looking to keep the park open later in the near future, in a year or two from now, with nighttime shows and parades? Or is this just like, hey, we have budget of $60 billion, let's spruce things up?
I think it's just regular maintenance. I think every 2-3 years or whatever, they have to redo the paint, and it's just due to be redone.
Do you remember them doing it last time? Because I don't remember them ever doing that.
Oh, I definitely remember them do that. But I'm trying to remember how often it was. I think it's every couple of years, but they've definitely done it. Yeah. So I think it's just the kind of the regular catch. It'd be nice if they open it later, even if on weekends or something like that, open it later for locals to check out at night and stuff. I don't know.
We've been calling for late night Animal Kingdom for a very long time. If those like the Dawa Bar and a couple other places were open, that'd be really
We
fun.
used to love that. We used to go around. They had like all the bars were open, but they had a lot of different live musicians like in Africa, but in other areas too, just like guitar players and stuff like that. And it was a really fun vibe to just kind of wander around at night with an adult beverage or two and enjoying the music and checking things out. And like, the animals weren't out, but there was still enough to kind of keep you entertained. That's why I thought on the weekends it'd be interesting, because it almost has a little bit of that Epcot World Showcase kind of drink around the world vibe. So I don't know, maybe they could do something like that to try to and have just like new drinks or I don't know, something to kind of draw people in, because once Dinosaurs closed, like that's a good chunk of the park that's just closed.
Would you spend $100 as a special event ticket, $100 to $125 for a limited time between, let's say, March and April, when it's still not, the sun still sets at not 9 o'clock at night,
right?
To be able to go in for like an after hours party for a couple hours, and it'll be live entertainment, and some of the bars and like Flame Tree Barbecue and stuff like that are open, that's serving food and beer and stuff like that. Was that something that you would do for like $125 a person?
Yeah,
I think go in at, let's say, I'm sorry for interrupting, about like 5 or 6 o'clock, and it closes at like 8 or 9.
I mean, I would definitely be interested in the concept of an after hours at Animal Kingdom that was around that. Maybe they had specialty drinks and stuff like that. Probably would have to depend on the price, because there's not as much open. So maybe they include food and stuff, but alcohol's an extra charge or something like that. But if there was like kind of a fun, like after hours type event that I felt was worth it price wise, I would definitely check it out.
Well, here's the after hours event. Like the rides are generally not open, or they're open for a little bit of it, and it's just live entertainment, music, and like its own like food and wine festival. In that, would you spend $100 to get in for like without a park ticket, right? You don't need a park ticket, but like it's $100.
I'd probably do it at least once. I'd like to think you'd get a little bit with that. Maybe it's like you get like a punch card for like it's good for a couple of food bites.
Sure,
like
something like that. Yes.
Yeah, then I would do it.
Yeah. Okay. I think I would do that too. At Epcot, Frozen is now closed for their animatronic update, and I forget who it was on Twitter. I saw had like just like a Now this is stupid that I bring it up, because I can't remember his reply. But he was saying a goodbye to it, and it had like just a creepy up close version of like also like just waving goodbye.
I think that might have actually been Drew.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was just funny. So we don't know how long it's going to be down for, right? No one's announced when it's coming back up, but we expect it to be. I think because when I remember talking about it, it'd be like a month or two, or was that us just guessing?
I think I'm trying to wonder. I think that might have been part of our 2026 predictions. I'll try
predictions. That's what I was remembering. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see if we got that.
Because I suspect like changing out a thing shouldn't take more than a week or a couple weeks. Like it should be, you should be able to install that in like 2 weeks and then like maybe some testing.
Yeah, you said 2 weeks. I said 3 weeks.
Okay, so we'll say if we're right. The clock starts now, so we'll see by mid-February. The last one would be at Hollywood Studios. So all the seating areas that were under construction between Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land are now open. And Phil, it looks quite lovely. What was your first impression of it?
So my first take was like, this is really cool. I think it's nice. It's needed. It fits the theme. It looks just like the rest of Galaxy's Edge. It felt like there could still be more. Like it felt like they had this whole area and there was like one table with 6 chairs around it or whatever. Like it wasn't fully populated. And then the other thing is that doesn't seem to be much shade. Again, the same problem with Galaxy's Edge. So I don't know if they just put up some like sun sail shade or something over it. And
somebody brought this up on the WDW Magic forums, like, they should have shade. They learn their lesson. And then somebody took like an overhead picture from like Google Maps or something. And it's just like from basically, unless you're like between 11 and 1 o'clock, whatever, there's enough trees nearby.
Is there? Okay.
It provides
so maybe it's not as bad as it looks
shade,
from the
right,
photos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
because from the photos, it looked very exposed, but maybe in reality, it's not that bad.
So we'll see. But I liked how the pictures, like people are populating it like instantly. It's not like some benches that were like off in the area that just never get used or half used. It's like the pictures I saw were like everybody was just hanging out and using it like normal.
And it's good because it's close to that new snack shop they opened in Toy Story Land. And then obviously you could bring out, Blue Milk or something like that from Galaxy's Edge and kind of meet up with people there. So I think it's nice that they found this area that was kind of underused and made it useful. With it. So it's good.
Yeah, we always like that type of thing. Okay, so that's all the construction updates for this week. And I think it's time to talk about Disneyland Handcrafted. I was super stoked by this. This was done by Leslie Iwerks.
Yep.
And she found some, I guess, unseen or never seen before footage from the construction of Disneyland. It starts a year before Disneyland opened. And it kind of progressively went from 1 year, 10 months, 8 months, 6 months, 10 days, et cetera, et cetera. So what was you had a nice write up here, Phil. So what were your like initial impressions? What did you think about this?
Yeah. So my initial takeaway was that this footage is like a gift to Disney park fans.
Yeah.
Like that they found it and the restoration job they did. I mean, oh
my goodness.
It doesn't look like it's 70 years old or whatever. Like it looks amazing. The other thing with that is how, like it's hard not to give Walt his praises and stuff like that, but he thought of like, hey, let's have a film crew like film us doing this. Like, why did he think of doing that? Like, I don't know. But it was really cool to see all the changes and stuff like that. I have a lot of thoughts on that. The big takeaway I remember it hit me at the 10-month mark that they have people. It's just an empty field and they're moving dirt. And I'm like, it looks like what Piston Peak looks like now. And Piston Peak's not going to be open for 2.5 to 3 years. Meanwhile, at that point, the entire park was open 10 months later. It's like, it's just, and obviously OSHA conditions are like building conditions.
Somebody could make a video and just have that whole thing played in the background and just have an OSHA violation counter.
Somebody did like a parody of the poster for it and just said like, and that was the title of it was like OSHA violations. But obviously, they weren't illegal at the time. That was fine.
I think it was before OSHA didn't exist.
Exactly. So it's like, I think this was like why OSHA got created or something. When you see what they're doing.
There was one scene where a guy almost died. Like he was driving a bulldozer.
Oh yeah, and it fell over.
All of a sudden, the guy jumped out and he like huddled there and then got out of the way. And I'm like, if the thing continued to fall, that man is dead.
Yeah,
like literally just dead. And my whole family just gasped at that. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what they did because it's all guys coming back from World War II. Well, not coming back from World War II, but probably a lot of World War II veterans that just like this is how we do things and got the job done. That's a lot of people say, well, Walt built Disneyland in a year. I'm like, yes, because he cut a lot of corners. And like one of the comments you wrote here, what was it? Something from Bob Gurd. You want to read that?
Yeah. So I wrote down a number of quotes that kind of hit me, and maybe I'll go through some of them. So, and a lot of it is related to this, but and maybe just I'll take a step back. Just so, what is this video versus what it isn't? It isn't like a standard documentary where you have a narrator. It isn't like a Defunct Land video or something like that, where it's like a very like time by day, and this happened and then that happened, and it's really just, as Jason, as you said, it was like these different points in time, and it just showed clips from roughly that month or whatever. And then they had people who were there using their words, quotes they've said whenever, that kind of applied to what you were seeing on there. But it wasn't really like, it's not like a typical documentary in that fashion. But some of the quotes that really jumped out at me was, Bob Gurr said, "We had no project managers, therefore we didn't need any coordinators. The Xerox machine hadn't been invented yet, so we didn't publish anything. All we did was just do the work."
My wife made a pretty good observation. And she's like, "Wow, nobody's using power tools." Because there's a scene guy like cutting like 2x4s with like a handsaw.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, like there were no batteries back then, battery packs. And they had some electric and hydraulic equipment, but it was like huge, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just like, this is how they built things like 70 years ago.
Yeah. Some other ones, Bill Evans. So he's responsible for a lot of all the greenery and plant work and stuff like that on the park. He was talking about the layout of the Jungle Cruise. And he said, "I did a quick sketch of where things we were going to put berms and where we're going to put boulders and where we're going to put trees, but no dimensions or anything like that." And then Joe Fowler, who was very critical, especially in building Walt Disney World, but was kind of the project manager for Disneyland. He said, "We built Disneyland with probably not 10% of the plans to start. The plans were developed as we went along." And I'm comparing that to what we see now on like Disney Plus, where they're like, we see the whole thing in virtual reality before we like ever start building. And so like, it's like they have everything like pre-done, whereas they like designed it as they went and like, well, that's not going to work. Let's try it over here, or let's cut it this way or something like that, which obviously is the only way you can do it in a year. But it's like, it's really amazing that it actually, I mean, I know Tomorrowland wasn't really open, but otherwise they pretty much got a lot of the park done.
I mean, one of the stories that you heard from like anybody retelling the building of Disneyland is how like on opening day, like the asphalt wasn't even cured yet. And they had that one picture of like the car, like, stuck in the asphalt because it went down like 6 inches.
Yeah. And famously they talked and they showed some people that women, because back then they still wore high heels everywhere. Their high heels were pushing into the asphalt and stuff like that. Another thing that jumped out at me, there was a comment about how people said Walt was crazy for doing this. And it's like, and they compared it's like, well, he was also crazy when he did the first full-length cartoon. And I was thinking, it's like, yeah, but they had done cartoon shorts before. This was just, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't a chance or a risk or anything like that. It's not like they started with like a small park and then we're like, oh, then we'll do Disneyland. It's like they jumped right to Disneyland. It's kind of like jumping to Snow White without doing the Mickey shorts or something like that. You know, it's like kind of crazy that they did that. A couple other, clips that really I enjoyed and made me smile and stuff like that. Harper Goff said that he was the one who conceived of the idea of going behind the waterfall on the Jungle Cruise. And so he wanted to be the first one to test ride it and kind of see like, do you get wet on this or how's it work? Somehow like he turned around and Walt's just in the back of the boat.
Yeah.
Like, he snuck
hanging out.
Like it's like, I don't know. He's such like a mythical figure, Walt is. And I know Drew pointed this out on Twitter, but there's this one scene where the Molly Brown riverboat on opening day is going around the bend and you see the train going by and it really just seemed like classic Disneyland. It was kind of like, this is the fulfillment of like what Walt's vision for the opening of the park to be. So it's all, I don't know. Anything else jump out at you, Jason?
I mean, first of all, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I thought there would be more documentary type of things going into it, but it was literally just clips and people like talking over it from like previous recordings or something else like that. There was like plenty of production. They obviously use computer or AI to upscale a lot of the older footage into fruit color. You could tell because there's one scene, I forget, it was on the Mark Twain where a woman's dress was a different color in two different scenes.
Oh, was
so
it?
It got colorized a little differently. But I thought it looked absolutely gorgeous. And I really appreciated like getting to see Disneyland in like, it wasn't crisp, but like as crisp as you can get for like footage of this age, right? Like it's what, 75? What I can't do the math. Is it 45 plus? Yeah, so 71 years old.
Because they just had their 70th anniversary.
Right. So I thought that was just fascinating because I love just watching old footage. Like you can see how people dressed back then and like how people interacted and how people's like social behaviors in queue or we're eating for the bathroom or all these type of different things which I thought was kind of interesting.
Also, this is definitely the film on Disney Plus that contains the most cigarettes.
Yeah, that's true.
Back then.
Yeah. No one in my family made a comment about that, actually, what I thought. So another thing was how truly empty everything was around it. Obviously, like Anaheim wasn't built up around it yet at all because this is truly in the middle of nowhere. But like you mentioned that scene where you saw the boat and the Jungle Cruise going by, and then the train kind of going by also. Like there's like no vegetation. Like it's like completely like bare, and that just really, really impressed upon me like how like it was a dirt pit in 12 months before, and like it's I expect like vegetation needs to grow and stuff like that, but like there was like nothing. So I mean, I would love to have more. I would love to see more footage. Maybe I'll watch it again and just keep an eye on like the footage of perspectives, because we didn't get a lot of like ground perspective of when the park was open. It was always like second story looking down and stuff like that. But like, what were the sight lines like walking around? I mean, I would love, for Google Maps to have been invented back then. You can kind of digitally walk through everything with everybody's pictures. I think that would be pretty cool. I wish there was more Walt in this. Like you mentioned, there was that scene where he's like driving like kind of crazily down the road.
Yeah, it seems like who's ever filming him, he's like joking that he's racing him or whatever. Yeah. And there's like, you see him pop up around in there, but I agree that there's more the workers doing the work versus Walt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talking about Walt, but there wasn't any like hidden, like really new, like, I guess if there were more images of Walt, like walk around Disneyland, we probably would have seen them already. Right.
Well, I think a lot of it too, is he was probably spending still a lot of time at the studio. That's where they're still designing things and building the show elements and stuff like that. So this was the work that was going on. Cause I think they said in some of the videos, like he would go down every Sunday or whatever it was.
Right.
So this is probably showing all the footage like in between when he would visit and stuff. So that's probably why he's not there. But I agree with you. It did kind of jump out at me that he's not in there as much as you thought he would be.
Yeah. And I mean, to that point though, I wish there were more like in studio or in workshop video. I mean, there were some when they were building the locomotive, there were some when they were kind of painting some like the Peter Pan ride vehicle and stuff like that. I wish there was more of that. I get it. It's about building Disneyland and not like the ancillary stuff that goes into it. But I get fascinated. Maybe there wasn't video about it. I don't know. But like, I always thought that was really, really cool. So I'm also really interested in how busy it was initially. I've only seen like the footage from like ABC. So it was like clear, distinct shots of like the entrance and the lines wrapping around the building, or like snippets of like the hub or something else like that where people are crowding in. But I don't think I've ever really seen good footage, especially in the colorized versions, of like just people like walking around the park and how crowded the park was.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I forget, I think it was around the carousel or something like that. It seemed like people were like 4 people deep.
It was swamped.
Yeah, there were certain spots where it's just like you couldn't even navigate it. I mean, they had twice as many people as they were expecting because there were all these like counterfeit tickets sold and stuff like that. But yeah, very interesting.
So, and then the last thing I saw was like how much attention detail there really was. Like you saw like really artisans like really like painting in crevices and taking their time, because there was a huge emphasis. I think there was one line, I don't know who said it. I probably should have gone back and found it, but it was comparing it, or like Walt's contemporaries in the theme park business or amusement park business were like, why you don't spend as much time on the details and all this other type of stuff, because nothing was ever done this way until like the immersive detail that went into everything. And it was true. Like Walt was like, this needs to be the best looking and everything else like that. Attention to detail. And you can see all the craftsmen polishing, making sure everything's perfect. You watched the people build a castle and using it like, what you would expect from Imagineers today, like building rock work and paying close attention. There was people like lying down on the side, getting like the rock work done perfectly in the Jungle Cruise to make sure like where the waterfall comes off of. I mean, I just, to me, that impressed me. Like even 70 plus years ago, people were still making sure that the place was like perfect upon opening, and really how much nothing has changed on Main Street from the look of the building and stuff like that. I always thought that was really cool. Yep. My other last question then for you before we move on is, would you like, I mean, obviously the answer is yes, but like I would love to see more footage of like the other parks if they exist, like Magic Kingdom and Epcot. I don't know if they videotaped as much as they did for this one, but I thought that would be interesting to see if there's anything in the vault.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely footage. I'm not just saying this because I love Epcot, but I feel like there is a lot of footage of Epcot and more in like the designing of it and the models and stuff like that. And so like, yeah, like Epcot Handcrafted or the building of Epcot. I feel like there's been like documentary, like I think Defunctland did one or things like that. but I don't know if Disney's done like a full one about like the actual building of Epcot. There's a lot of like the storyline. It's part of the Imagineering story and stuff like that.
And it's always like stills too.
Yeah,
it's like the picture of people assembling like Spaceship Earth and stuff like that. I mean, the original iWorks documentary Imagineering, did that take us all the way to present? I'm trying to remember.
I think so.
It was. I would love to see that kind of broken down into like eras of Imagineering and stuff like that. But I don't know if footage or there's a story there. I'm sure there's always a story, but I don't know if it's worth like a Disney Plus kind of type of thing.
I mean,
but
it feels like every time they put
stuff.
something together, I find at least one shot I hadn't seen before. I mean, there was that one on the Haunted Mansion recently. I was like, there's thousands out there already on the Haunted Mansion. I still felt like there was a couple things in there I hadn't seen before. So
yeah. I'm
hurts
like behind the attraction. I thought that's a really awesome show, and I enjoy watching that. I just wish that there was more of that. I know there's I mean, like with Disney putting such a focus on the parks, especially with their investment, and then realizing this is the backbone of the company. We've got potentially a lifer parks person becoming the next CEO in Josh D'Amaro. That there'd be more parks content on Disney Plus, like simple, cheap content. Like, I don't think I need to have, I don't think I should have to watch a streamer, which is like a daily parks walkthrough. I think Disney can do a bunch of different stuff like that. So I hope here's to the future, hoping that enough people watch this where like there's a demand for like parks history and stuff like that.
Makes me wonder if, because they're making a big thing about this $60 billion investment they're doing now. I wonder if they are filming a lot of it, like 10 years from now or something. It's like the transformation of the parks, and here's a documentary about like everything that went into it.
I mean, they're doing that in social media anyway.
Yeah.
Like you would imagine that they'd be forward thinking enough to do this because it's essentially free content, right? Like the only cost is the production and the editing and stuff like that, and any voiceovers that you might have to do. I don't know. I like to see more parks content on
or even
Disney
just
Plus.
for each of them individually, like either leading up to it or whatever. When Tropical Americas is going to open, I'd watch a 30-minute documentary about the building of Tropical Americas or whatever.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, just even expanding that, because now we're down a rabbit hole, and we're going face first down this one. So, like, if you want to, let's say you want to do a Disney vacation, right? And there's tons of evidence out there that planning a Disney vacation is overwhelming, what hotels to pick and where things are situated. How come Disney or Disney Parks blog or somebody else hasn't done like a 30-minute showcase on the Polynesian, a 30-minute showcase on Caribbean Beach Resort, a 30-minute tutorial on the monorail, like just official Disney branded things that would be great content for Disney Plus, be great content to put on a website and like the how-tos and learns, because right now that's being fulfilled by people like Mammoth Club that have high production value and millions of other content creators that are doing it to variety levels of quality. And I think Disney should do like, maybe not so like corny how they did like the Galactic Star Cruiser type of corny like showcase, but like get a guy that's a good host or a gal that's a good host and just kind of walk through. Maybe no host. Maybe just do like a silent walkthrough with some stuff and check out the restaurants. I don't know. I think Disney's missing quite a bit when it comes to content for their own major resort.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Like for people who are like, oh, what is it actually like staying at the Polynesian? It's not cheap. Like, is this something I really want to do? And then you have somebody that kind of puts it in a positive light, obviously, but like, here's all the things you can do. And here's the vibes of staying here. Obviously they'd have to potentially continually update things as things change and stuff like that. I mean, maybe that's why they're worried about it, but I don't know. Like if you do it, you don't need like $1 billion budget to like do these things. It's
no, I mean, you have YouTubers doing it on the budget of a camera. I think Disney can afford to hand somebody a camera to walk around. My thing is like, we did this when we booked our Animal Kingdom Lodge / Wilderness Lodge trip coming up this summer. I wanted to show like the kids like Animal Kingdom Lodge and a Kidani 1-bedroom, villa. And I wanted to show them like a Wilderness Lodge, like even though we've been there, but like a tour of the rooms and like how big is the resort? What is it like walking around and checking out the pools? And YouTubers can't really do that because, going to the pool with the camera is creepy and they shouldn't be doing that. But like Disney could, do it with, the pools are closed so they can come in at like night or something else like that early in the morning and do it when there's no guests there type of thing. So they have the power to do those type of things. But there was no content that was good on the internet to showcase these things. I know what they're like, but I wanted my kids to see it. And I had to go through a variety of like YouTubers, like, everybody's like, here is the Kidani 1-bedroom room. Let me give you a room tour. And like somebody has like a 20-second clip of them showing where the thermostat is. I'm like, I don't care where the thermostat is. Like, show me. Like, there's some content creators out there that know how to do a good room review. It's short, it's crisp, it's kind of give a nice wide angle, or it's somebody on their cell phone camera, like with it in their face. And it's like, I don't want to have to, I wouldn't want to have to go through YouTube and just be like, who's got a good production, who doesn't. Well, let's say I like Mammoth Club's production value, but the last time they were at Animal Kingdom Lodge was 4 years ago. So that's kind of out of date, whatever. Or maybe that's why Disney's afraid of it. I don't know. But anyway, I think they can do quite a bit on exploring the parks and the hotels and the restaurants. That could be like, I don't know, you take one episode of like The Acolyte or like 10% of the budget of one episode of like Andor and just like, here, make park content for like, here's $10 million. I think that they can get through quite a bit with like a $10 million budget.
Just give Craig $10 million and see what he can put together.
That's what I'm talking about. That's it. And he did good room reviews back in the day. He did a good job. Anyway, that's rabbit hole. Okay, so we've got a game that you came up with a game because we were like, with the lack of news, you came up with a game better than mine. So ours is the DVC engagement, and yours is a progressive dinner game. And I think like Mammoth Club did something like this earlier with a monorail crawl. We're going to do it. Obviously, we're not there to put it on video as much as we would love to do that. So what is the game, Phil?
Yeah, so it is similar to the rock, paper, scissors stuff that Mammoth Club does, but they're going for a specific food item and stuff like that. This is more about like if you were doing another like non-park day or something like that, and we always talk about like monorail crawls or something like that. But if you really wanted to put together like we're going to do like a meal that's part of the monorail crawl, or actually for this day we're going to do like a Skyliner crawl, where the idea is you're going to hit up a couple places. And I have 3 stages. So one thing is like appetizers and drinks, kind of like before your main dinner, what do you want to do? What do you want to check out? Then the place you're going to go for your main course. And then a place you're going to go and either grab dinner or maybe another round of drinks or just kind of veg out or vibe out after dinner. So 3 stops, in this case, all along the Skyliner. But you can't pick, all the 3 stops have to be at 3 different locations. So you can't pick 2 places at the Boardwalk Inn or something like that. It's got to be 3 different places that you're going to use the Skyliner to get to. And just a summary of all the options you can do on the Skyliner. At Pop, there's Everything Pop in the Petals Pool Bar. Art Animation, there's Landscape of Flowers in the Drop-Off Pool Bar. Caribbean Beach has Sebastian's Bistro, the Centertown Market Grab and Go, Banana Cabana, and Spyglass Grill. Riviera has Bar Riva, Topolino's Terrace, La Petite Cafe, and Primo Piatto. Boardwalk, there's a lot. Flying Fish, Trattoria Al Forno, Boardwalk Deli, Boardwalk Ice Cream, Carousel Coffee, Pizza Window, Abracadabra Bar, Leaping Horse Libations, the Bellevue Lounge, Funnel Cake Cart, Blue Ribbon Corn Dog, Boardwalk Joe's Marvelous Margaritas, and the Cake Bake Shop. And last is the Yacht Club Beach Club. On Disney's website, it grouped these all together. So there's the Ale and Compass, there's the restaurant and the lounge and the market. There's Cape May Cafe, Beaches and Cream, the Beach Club Marketplace, Martha's Vineyard, Hurricane Hannah's Waterside Bar and Grill, Yachtsman Steakhouse, and the Cruise Club Lounge. You could also potentially pick something at the Swalfin, but there's a whole lot there. I didn't want to type it out, let alone say them all. And and the other
You've done enough.
The other rule I'm going to say is if you wanted to go there, you'd have to walk. The only mode of transportation you can use is the Skyliner. So you couldn't take the boat over to Swalfin or something. So if you're willing to walk over there, you could pick something there. But I was trying to focus on more of the Disney proper locations.
I appreciate that. So are we going to grade ourselves just on choice of food? Are we going to say like what are entertaining options? Like, because do we get points for, taking a nice Skyliner ride across property? Or do we like all stay at one resort and just like, well, this is all we're doing because we love the boardwalk?
You can't just stay at the boardwalk, but theoretically you could do like Yacht Club
Boardwalk,
Yacht
Beach,
or something,
right,
like where you're not actually getting on the Skyliner. So you have to think about it. This is like, how would you want to do it? And
how do we determine who wins, Phil? There's got to be a winner.
I guess Discord could vote on it or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, so appetizers. Phil, this is your game. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. I thought about this. I was going back and forth, like which directions I want to go. I also think my answers would be different if it was just me and my wife versus the whole family. I was going to view it, though, as doing it with my whole family.
Oh, I would do an opposite.
Yeah, well, I think it's easier to do it if it was just my wife and I. So
true.
I was trying to add the challenge a little bit.
We're going to have family then. Okay, I'll rearrange my brain then.
Okay, so I am going to start at the Ale and Compass Lounge over at the Yacht and Beach Club.
Okay.
It's a really nice vibe in there. It's kind of relaxing. There's a lot of good appetizers. I know my kids can get the wings, or there's truffle fries. They have the really good Parker House rolls. Like it has a lot of things that I think would like kind of munchies before you get started on there. And then they have a huge drink list, a huge wine and beer list and stuff like that. And I think it's just like going to be an easy, relaxing kind of kickoff to my evening. So that is where I'm going to start.
Okay, so I'm going to start because now it's the whole family. I'm going to start at Topolino's, right? Get there early-ish in the evening, maybe like 4:30, 5 o'clock. Have some wonderful drinks. You've got a great view. The kids aren't like tired and sleepy, so they have some energy, but they'll be occupied by looking at the view. And my wife and I could probably sit down and enjoy ourselves for just a little bit as we're getting some appetizers. They have some appetizers on the menu that my wife would like because we've had them when we were there last year. So I think that'd be a wonderful place to stay. It's a beautiful resort. Hopefully it's not 118 degrees like it was last time. Maybe we can go outside. So caveat to that.
Maybe we'll do the caveat that it's perfect weather. So
there we go. Thank goodness, because I really like that vibe. So I think the only thing that makes me go away from Topolino's and make second guess myself is like I really want to use the Skyliner because I enjoyed that mode of transportation. It's quiet, it's serene to me. But going from the Riviera anywhere else, I might not be a good enough like Skyliner ride. So I don't know. But I'm sticking with Topolino's for this one.
Okay. Well, that makes my one easy because my next stop for dinner is I was going to walk over to the Epcot International Gateway entrance, hop on the Skyliner, and get off at the Riviera Resort. We are going to have dinner at Topolino's. Kind of for a lot of the reasons you mentioned. I think the view is really nice. I think the kids get a kick out of that. We like the full menu there, especially appetizers and desserts and stuff like that. We'd make a full meal out of it there. And I think that's also a good kind of mid spot between my first stop and last stop. So there are a lot of different options. I think it definitely would, I don't want to say definitely, but there are other things I might want to pick if it was just me and my wife. We might do like flying fish or something like that. But with the family, I thought that was a good option to go for. I think they have good kids meals and stuff like that. So that'll be our main location for the evening.
So for me, I have to think about my wife, right? She's a vegetarian, though she does eat fish and sparingly. And I really don't care about my kids. They can find something that they'll like. My son will eat. My son and my older daughter will, or actually all my kids will eat steak. I'm pretty sure I can find steak anywhere. My kids are happy with hamburgers also. So they're not as picky as anybody else. The only reason why I didn't pick Topolino's for dinner is my wife did not really enjoy her pasta dish that she had. And they don't have a very good vegetarian options for entree. So that's why we're there for desserts. Because I think didn't they have like I'm going back to appetizers. Anyway, what do I pick for entree? So I have two options here that immediately came to mind. And the first one is flying fish at the boardwalk. I've never been, and it's like on top of almost everybody's list of like top 5 restaurants on property sort of thing. And my wife could find salmon or some other kind of white fish that she would really enjoy. My kids, on the other hand, are not all like big fish eaters, though they have enjoyed salmon before in the past, but it's kind of hit or miss on that one. And the only other thing that I would think of is Sebastian's Bistro. When we went down a couple years ago, my wife wasn't feeling well as we got down there. So only me and my kids went down for dinner. And the family style, there is a vegetarian platter that's available there. My sister, who's a vegan, raved about it when she was down there.
We've got that too, because you can get, they let us get just like 1 or 2 things off that because my wife said she doesn't eat beef and pork. Mm-hmm. So we also were able to add on a couple items from the plant-based menu. And it was really good. We like that too.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So I really want to try flying fish. I want to try something new. I don't like going to the same places every single time. So flying fish might be a better, riskier but more potentially more enjoyable dinner, or do we walk over to Sebastian's Bistro and have a good meal that I know my wife would really enjoy, but you don't have the ambiance and it's something that we've done already. So with that being said, I'm probably picking Flying Fish because I don't have to justify my answer to my family because this is imaginary. But I think my wife would really enjoy it. I would definitely enjoy it, and I think my kids can find something that they'll like.
I think that
on the menu.
It's been years since we've been in Flying Fish. It's before they redid it. I think that might have been like 10 years ago. Right. So it's been a while. But they do have good steak and stuff there too.
Yeah,
it's like
I know.
Not just fish. Yeah. So I know you mentioned your kids could probably find
They'll
something.
find something.
Yeah.
But I want to do that because I've never really. I've never been to Boardwalk before, and after dinner, you can certainly kind of walk around and enjoy. So, like being at the Boardwalk at night would be. I'm assuming we're saying perfect weather, which means that after dinner, it's dark enough for the lights to be on and enjoying an evening, and it's not like the middle of the summer and it's like 8:30 and the sun is still blaring at you after dinner. So, I'm going with that one.
And then for our last stop, we would also. Theoretically, we could walk, but we would probably backtrack and take the Skyliner over to the next station, and then walk backwards to go to Banana Cabana because we kind of have to go there every trip. I was debating starting here, but I figured to kind of mix it up and do something a little bit different, we would end here. We would still get regular food. We love their wings there, their guava buffalo wings and drinks and stuff like that. I just thought it'd be kind of similar, like we were saying, the perfect weather. It's kind of ending the day out at the pool bar, perfect weather, enjoying the drinks and food. And also I could use it as motivation for my kids to behave because they would like that this would be their number one choice. I was afraid that if we went there first, then they would get
it's all downhill from there.
It's all downhill from there. So this is kind of like the carrot at the end of the evening for them to behave. I was thinking initially about kind of reversing this and then ending at Beaches and Cream. But I decided to kind of mix it up and do something a little different with going to Ale and Compass to start and then ending at Banana Cabana.
I had a similar thought as you. I was picking between Art of Animation and just kind of going to the grab and go there. The what do they call it at Art of Animation?
Marketplace or
Landscape of Flavors.
Yeah.
And grabbing some just like ice creams and stuff like that, or going to the Banana Cabana to do whatever. My dessert is a margarita. But like I picked both of those just because, okay, we've got the Topolinos at a beautiful place. We got it trying something new at Flying Fish. We have to mix some nostalgia into this whole trip, right? So do I pick Art of Animation because we had a fantastic time last year when we were there, but the ambiance is not as nice and it's a big, giant open place, a lot of crowds. Or do we pick at where our home resort is, where we stayed the most, at the Caribbean Beach Resort? So I'm picking Caribbean Beach Resort. Maybe we meet up and have a drink together as our kids go nuts and wander around. They can wander around together and leave you and your wife and me and my wife alone at the bar having, an enjoyable after dinner drink. So I would also pick Banana Cabana. So I'm going to Riviera, hopping the Skyliner to the International Gateway, and then back to the Riviera and probably walking. Now, here's the thing: do you take the Skyliner to the Riviera and walk, or to the center hub and then walk up from there?
I would go to the center hub. I mean, that's how we always go. It seems like I think it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other as far as the length of the walk. Yeah,
it's close. I think I would stop at Riviera. I think that's if you care to walk. Yeah. That's the shortest. But if you want a longer Skyliner thing, it's probably better to go down the hub. But that's it. I think, I'm envious of your picks too, but I'm happy with mine as well. I think we did a good job on this one. Maybe everybody else listening to this can figure out what they would do and share that on Discord. Go from there.
Yep.
All right. So, Phil, what was last week's DVC engagement? What motivates you more to book a Walt Disney World vacation? Lower crowds or lower cost, and why? So why don't we start with you or I? I might have kind of given away some of my stuff from last week with my trip planning. So assuming that you can go at any time of the year, right? You're not saying, hey, this is February, spring break. This is the only time we can get out, right? You can choose to go any time of the year. What motivates you more and why?
So for me, it would be, of the two, I think it would be lower crowds, which sometimes corresponds to lower cost. But I know when we plan around, especially for like the full week vacation, not like a down and back, we try to do like the end of August or something because we know like our kids are out of school, but a lot of kids have gone back and stuff like that. Just because at least like the super peak times, like the spring break, the Thanksgiving week, like we would do everything to avoid those when we see like
Right.
those just crazy crowds. I don't mind some crowds. In fact, I don't like it when it's like empty.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yep.
Yeah, but I think of we try to avoid those really high crowd days. So I would say we target when we think there's going to be lower crowds.
So is there a threshold where like, hey, we could go, let's say at the end of August where it's lower crowds and the cost is X, right? Whatever. $8,000 for 5 days down there or something else like that, right? But you can go where crowds are potentially higher by 20%, but the costs are lower by 20%. Does that cost motivate you to switch? At what point does cost like glare at you, be like, we got to take this. This is a deal.
I don't know, because like it would have to be kind of a lot, because then we could like, crowds are higher, but we're going to use the save money for all the lightning lanes and stuff like that. Or just like we're going down and we're not doing a lot of rides. Like we would have to make sacrifices because of the crowds. I think it would be more.
What about that you could go an extra 2 days because you're saving $1,000?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it was that much, maybe we'd think about it.
I mean, like $8,000 is a typical trip for a week with a bunch of tickets for every single day, right? For a family of 5 that are all not Disney.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like that much savings that we could stay 2 more days and it's only 20% more people, I think we would do it. If you're telling me it's like 50%, 80%,
that's no,
like that like it would have to be so cheap for me to do like those Christmas week vacation, crowds or something like that it would probably be ridiculous.
I feel like this question needs some kind of like slider that we can at what point does like do they cross where like, okay, we're switching here. For me, it's all about cost, right? I could put up, we go so much now as non-locals, I guess once a year, that like I don't need to like go and make sure I hit all of these rides, right? The way we go now is we just get hoppers and we'll float around. I don't need to be in the parks 10 hours a day, though I tend to do that anyway. But like I have that pressure, and I don't have that pressure anymore. I don't feel like I need to do these type of things. So higher crowds, if they happen, I could do other things and still enjoy my time on property, right? So for me, it's costs, and I literally put my money where my mouth is and booked a trip this summer when I wasn't planning a trip at all, because we saved about $3,000 and we're able to do our first family deluxe vacation this summer, hopefully, if we still go. That I'm looking forward to it. So to me, it's always about cost, but it's like, I'll also like, we've gone during Christmas time. We went the week before Christmas and it was pretty darn busy. It wasn't like insanely busy except for that one night at Epcot when the Backstreet Boys came to town. But like, it was like, there was also a race event that day as well. I think to me, like crowds don't bother me, but I'll go if there's something that's value, like significantly lower costs, or it's a time of year I've never been. Like I think everybody should go down if you celebrate Christmas. I think you should spend 1 week down or one long weekend down at Disney during Christmas time. It changes your whole perception on things. So we're risking going down this year during the 4th of July. It lasts 3 or 4 years, or every year post-COVID. 4th of July has been a dead period of time. But we're going down during.
Yeah, but now for the 250th, that might be crazy. We don't know.
So we'll see. Yeah. I will be the guinea pig for that.
And I think that's what would worry me more than like ride weights. It's just some of the kids in my family, they have like the anxiety would kick in and stuff like that. So I think that's what I would worry about when we're talking about, it's like those levels of crowds where it's like, it's hard to move through World Showcase or whatever. Like that's
my wife.
That's what I would avoid. So if it's not that level, but it is, rides that are normally 30 minutes are now 50 minutes or something, like that would be fine. It's just, I would pay to avoid those levels of crowds where like you can't move.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only reservation about the trip coming up is my wife does not do crowds very well. And she'll be like, let's go back to the resort. I don't want to be here with this many people, which is fine at this point. It's just that I suspect it's not that busy because at least right now, because he added a 4+2 and you're able to get it through the 4th of July holiday.
Including that holiday, yeah.
So I'm like, maybe they're not, because usually they might black out a couple days around the holidays. They're expecting a lot of people, and they did not. So, I don't think a lot of people want to travel for 4th of July anyway. So, I don't know. We'll see. we'll see. So let's see what other people in the community have said, Phil. Herd Maniac has said, I think everybody knows my answer to this, but at the risk of sounding like a broken record, the crowds do not affect his trips 99% of the time because he is a resort-focused person, and the resorts that he goes to, the DVC resorts, are very rarely so swamped where it feels, it affects his date. But to add some granularity, for at least 30% off either, he aims for at least 35% off all of his rooms, so he does that for a standard. And then we kind of built up a conversation about renting DVC renting DVC contracts that are already filled up, but people had to cancel them at the last minute and try to find somebody to fill them in to kind of recoup some of their costs. I have a potential trip in Miami over the next couple of weeks just to kind of go down and like have a conference with a client. And I'm thinking, well, if I do that, I'm going to drive up to Orlando and stay for a night somewhere. I'm like, what would it cost to get like a one night DVC room somewhere? And if that actually comes to fruition, I'm going to check it out. But Herd Maniac does that quite a bit, and I think that's pretty cool. So which ones? You want to read the next one, Phil?
Yeah. So Mama 6 said, at this point in my life, lower crowds are way more important than lower cost. I'd rather stay up and save up and go less often during light crowds, even if it costs me more. Then said, what does she consider low crowds? And she said there are several attractions at each park that are kind of walk-ons. It's easy to get dining reservations, and the pathways are not crowded. Yep. So she said, and just for a bonus point, she kind of added on some types where they found low crowds: first week in March, late April, third week in October, and the first week of December. Which
third
I think
week of October, really?
That's a little surprising. I mean, obviously it's before actual Halloween, but I'm wondering when she went, because I think in recent years that's not the case.
Yeah, I know the first week of December is a fantastic time to go.
Yeah, although I've seen that's gotten it's not as slow as it used to be. I think it's still like for the holiday season, it's still better, but it used to be like dead. Now it's like people go almost all the time during the holiday seasons.
Yeah, I didn't listen to this week's Disney Dish, but last week after our podcast last week, I listened to it, and he was talking about his newscast that he did with his spreadsheets, and he mentioned like dips in that time of or increases in that time of year. And one of the things that he brought up were like one of the reasons why people are taking he mentioned like homeschooling and all this other reasons, but like he didn't mention that prevalence in this anecdotal evidence for me that people are less fearful of taking their kids out of school to go on vacations. And he didn't mention that. I don't know if you could back that up with data, and he's a data-driven guy type of thing. So anyway, first week of December is big thumbs up. If you were going to go down for Christmas, that's the perfect time to go, because you get back and you still have 2 weeks until Christmas to go and that type of thing. So wanted to do it this year, but we've got a big trip in
July
this summer. So there we go. Lumpy on the next one. He had low crowds, significantly over lower costs. Says we go to Walt Disney World every other year. So it's a true vacation. If I can go to on a different date and have shorter lines, more restaurant availability, as well less people, I'm doing that 10 times out of 10. Lower crowds is better than nicer weather too. So you can take the rain. So he really likes it when it's lower crowds. This is the second person that's mentioned restaurant availability. I don't think people, even the professional nerds like us, realize how much availability there are in restaurants all throughout the year these days. Like it's super easy to get, unless you try to get Akershus at 6 o'clock or
if there's like some of the character, like the very few ones, probably Space 220 and stuff, and you have a specific date and a specific time you want to go. But other than that, if you have any sort of flexibility, it's really not a problem.
I mean, I rebooked Chefs de France like 4 times in my last trip, and I could get like a 6 o'clock booking. I would book the day before, cancel it 2 hours before, book the next night at 6 o'clock. Like there was no problem with it. And that's a party of 6 too. So it wasn't like it's like point, party of 2. So I would take that fear off your checklist if you haven't gone in a couple of years. Like restaurant availability is significantly better than it used to be. It's not the sprint and oh my God, I don't have anything to go to.
Have all the hard ones at the end of your 10-day vacation and booking out exactly 180 days out and all that craziness.
So here I thought we were going to have a short trip, and we're at an hour in here. What did Ryan W have to say, Phil?
Ryan W said, for us, lower crowds motivates us for sure. I look for wait times in the app to judge if it's lower crowds. Each park has 2 attractions that he looks at to see if it's crowded or not. At Magic Kingdom, he looks at both Little Mermaid and Tiana's. Basically, if Little Mermaid's more than 20 minutes, it's a busy day. Hollywood Studios, he looks at Slinky Dog Dash and Star Tours. So it seems like in each park, he kind of picks like a lower tier ride and a higher tier one. And if like kind of the lower tier ones are more than like 15, 20 minutes, he knows it's a more crowded day and that sort of thing, which I think is interesting to kind of judge and kind of look at things.
Well, that's what who said it before? That's what Mama of Six said. Like certain rides need to be walk-ons. It's like each park has like an attraction that isn't just for like kids or whatever. That like if like Mermaid is like 15 or 20 minutes, it's basically a walk-on at that point, right? And I think that's a good way of looking at things. I like that.
Yep. T.L. Madden said, for me, it's all about going when the people ain't, picking times that were convenient for them, but also knowing that it wouldn't be crowded. So kind of similar to me, I think, where they really tried to avoid those big holiday weeks that like everybody seems to go. So try to pick a date that works for you and maybe isn't as available for everybody else. He said, although now he's struggling to find what that time is for his family, because I know a lot of his kids are busy with like sports or other activities and stuff like that. So it's like they don't have a lot of time.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's tough to figure out that whole time.
And Brett 3 Day says, for me, it's lower crowds. I think there's a trend here, Phil.
Yeah.
As long as the price isn't crazy high, I can find a way to get paid for. The payment option is amazing. If it wasn't for what we were able to go for as much, I'd rather pay a little bit more and have less wait times, et cetera, et cetera. So again, people are really striving for lower crowds. To me, I think like if you can, when I say lower cost, for me, lower cost is different for everybody. And it's just like my trip. If the cost is just so low that like I could go when I wasn't, even if it's a down and back, right? I think I forget where. I think somebody on one of the message boards like, "Hey, I'm going to go see Dinosaur for the last time because I found flights that were $40 round trip because it was a last minute fare."
Yeah.
I mean, like those type of things motivate me to go down because of significantly lower costs, and I think that's what's motivating me. So no one.
Actually, the last person, Josie, I think said similar to your points, was saying in a weird way, the more I go, the less crowds bother me. I'm at the point where I don't need to ride anything. And I hit the e-tickets plenty of times. And he could, if it's lower price, it's easier to afford lightning lanes and stuff like that. So he said, generally it's hey, this deal is pretty good. And we have some PTO and flight points. Let's go. So kind of similar to what you're saying. No, it's a good point. Like, I mean, I think if it's one of those things where it's like, I just want to say goodbye to I would never bother to say goodbye to Dinosaur, but I want to say goodbye to Muppets or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I could find $40 flights and had a spare day. Like, sure, who cares if I have to wait through 7 shows to see Muppets? It doesn't matter because it was kind of a bonus trip and stuff like that. So probably that's also, I think, a consideration for me too, because if it's our main family vacation, I think crowds are more important than like if we were doing a long weekend around the holidays or something. It's more about being there for the holidays than getting on things. So then like higher crowds probably wouldn't bother me as much. So some of it definitely depends on like what the goals of the trip are.
Yeah. For me, it has to be a significant amount of savings where it makes me double think whether I should go or not. Okay. So next we're going to end it here, but next week's DBC engagement is what would be a fun character dining experience for adults? And I'm not talking about anything creepy or anything else like that. So think of something an experience that's somewhere more than like the Beacon Barrel, right? But something significantly less than like this Galactic Star Cruiser, where it's like a whole role playing and living experience. Something that's like a good example would be maybe a more engaging, like Hoop-de-Doo Review type of experience, right? Because that's generally more adult oriented, right? It's for everybody, but it's not like just a princess dinner.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, if we mean something for everyone, or because the first thing that came to my mind was the Adventurers Club that used to be around. That was like kind of like in a whole engaging experience and stuff like that. But you were just there for a meal or for a drink. It wasn't like the Star Cruiser. So
I mean, like the Adventure Club is a fantastic idea. Like for me, like Hoop-de-Doo, like not everybody drinks, right? Mm-hmm. So like it has to be an experience where you have people that you don't need alcohol, but there's fun entertainment going on. So dinner showy type of thing. Maybe it's just a show. Maybe it is just a dining experience, but like everything is immersive around it with some live music, kind of like the Adventurers Club type of thing.
Okay.
So that's what I'm kind of thinking. But you cannot use the Adventurers Club, Phil, because that already existed. You have to invent your own for next week. So sorry to say, you have to do something for Epcot. I think that's
Okay.
like you have to do Epcot themed stuff, or we will all be disappointed.
Okay.
Phil, anything that I forgot to mention before we finish up here?
No, I think just for those of you impacted by the storms, I hope you're staying warm and didn't have any power outages. And just wanted to wish our best to Matt, who is down at Disney World. He was supposed to leave at 7 a.m. and I think his flight finally took off at 6:50 p.m. So he's on his way down. So hopefully he's still able to kind of get out of the trip what he wanted to with his friends. But yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.